this mic, but in Washington, Republicans are down right now. Obviously, we lost the House, the Senate. We're playing defense on a lot of the legislation. But I found in the first few months that there's a lot you can do, particularly in the Senate, to stop bad bills. It's going to be hard for us to pass a lot of our reform legislation that we've talked about, but we can stop them from doing bad things most of the time. And I hope we can use this time in the minority as Republicans to rethink who we are and to recapture our message and the real substance of our party and what makes us different than the Democrats. The big mistake we made as Republicans, if you go back to '94, is that when we came in with a lot of good ideas and a lot of good people, we didn't change the system. And we actually just started behaving like Democrats and in a relatively short period of time. And on the spending, we started spending more. We started earmarking more at the federal level, which just creates a favor factory of congressmen and senators where they're designating money to be spent around the state, regardless of state priorities. And we went from a couple hundred earmarks when Reagan was president, and he said this was outlandish when he looked at the number of earmarks that Congress, the way we were spending money. He said it was crazy. But by the time I got to the Senate, it was over $10,000 a year of spending for this little research project, hundreds of millions here and there. And some of them were good. But most of it created a wasteful, corrupting process that ended up with Duke Cunningham getting convicted and others. All this comes back to earmarking. And for those of you who are not that familiar with how the system works, when they come to you and say, DeMint, as a congressman, you get $50 million to spread around the state the way you want, their assumption is you're going to vote for the bill no matter how bad it is. And West Virginia and Alaska will get hundreds and hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars, and they want to buy your vote with scraps. And that's basically what happens. And we keep bidding it up every year in order to get more and more people to participate. It just corrupted the whole Republican ideal because spending went up and up. And we tried to have it both ways. We tried to keep taxes low. We didn't do as good a job at that as we should. But we continued to expand our spending. And that's why we're in the minority today. But I think this time we can use to improve our party. And a lot of that comes back to you. Just keeping our congressmen, our senators accountable to the right ideas. And the Republican philosophy, the conservative philosophy, is pretty basic common sense. It really, our whole belief system is based on the fact that the individual is what's key in America, the capable individual. Participating in free enterprise and volunteering. That's what holds up America. That's what makes us great. Government is what helps that to work. But too many people in Congress now believe that it's the government's responsibility to find every problem and to come up with a government solution for it. And increasingly that's been happening. And we need someone who can change that. We need a Congress who can change it, who can recognize that the less we do at the federal level, the better off this country is. Because the things we're doing now are not working. And there are a number of things I want to mention on that in addition to earmarking. But I have found as a senator, you may have seen some of this in the Wall Street Journal and otherwise, that we've been able to stop all the earmarking this year. Just using some Senate procedures, I was able to object to this omnibus going to conference with the House. They weren't able to overcome the objection because they have to get 60 votes. And sometimes just the procedure of getting there is so complicated they can't do it. But we were able to stop it. And we're operating this year under a spending provision that does not allow earmarks. And we'll see how the federal government deals with that. But we've gotten response from all over the country. I've gotten letters that said, I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, but this is something that needed to be done years ago. We need to watch how we spend money. And it's encouraged a lot of Republicans that we can make a difference. It's made a lot of the Republican appropriators mad. I frankly have about 10 or 12 Republican appropriators, Ted Stevens from Alaska, Pete Domenici, and others who are very angry because we've basically taken away their sandbox. The Democrats are unhappy, but so far we've been able to hold our own on this. And the more people, I think, hear from folks like you that this is the right way to go, we've got to stop spending. I mean, we've got